tunnel, hear the thunder we've made. Seminoles Sideline, 365. KB and the old man, we ride. More ball, oh yeah, that's right, pride live. Seminoles Sideline, 365.
Welcome back to Seminoles Sideline 365. My name is KB, and with me is the old man, and we got a show for you. We've got a good amount to cover tonight. Obviously, we've had some commitments, some decommitments, and I'm getting some feedback on the old man side. I don't know what's going on, so we'll get that figured out hopefully.
What? What feedback?
Pop out, old man. I don't know what's going on with the audio on your end, but we got some things to go through tonight.
Really?
Quarterbacks committing. Yeah. Pop out.
We just had a technical check. It was fine, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so we got quarterbacks to talk about. We got the Sear Twins news and what's trending there. And yeah, we'll get into that. And hopefully the old man can figure out his audio stuff. He's always got something technical going on his end. But yeah, so we want to get y'all's thoughts. So whether you're watching this live with us now or you're watching it recorded, leave your comments on what you guys think of the new quarterback situation. Because I think that's one of the biggest things we got to talk about, obviously, with the commitment of Ashton Daniels. So let us know right now. Ashton Daniels, he's an intriguing... I say that I think that's the best way to say it, is an intriguing prospect. Obviously, statistically, old man, you got it's
Let's
feedback.
testing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's I can hear myself on your end, so I don't. You gotta update your audio.
I hear you fine, man. I hear you
myself.
fine.
I hear myself.
Could it be on your end?
No, it's not. It's on my end. It's not on my end.
Huh. I don't get it. I mean, everything's the same. How does this shit change all the time? Maybe the government.
Because you're changing.
Well, I'm on the Tampa studio. The Tampa studio. We gotta get some super chats to do some upgrades down here. You know, in the studio. So you're saying it's unacceptable?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Joey Garrett says, "Yeah, it's on your end, old man." Okay, I'll be back. I'll be back.
All right.
I'll be back.
Okay. So while he's gone, we're talking Ashton Daniels. So obviously, this is a pickup that I don't think most of y'all out there are happy with. I didn't expect it. I thought, obviously, I wasn't happy. I wasn't gonna be happy with the ULV guy, Calandria. I'm glad we didn't go that direction. Lagway, I thought was going to be leading the pack. I think most people were leaning in that direction after his visit. I thought Ashton Daniels coming in was maybe a backup pick, and that's who they decided to go with. And yeah, kind of surprised me. But you look at his tape, you look at what he brings: 6'4", athletic, can run with the football, has a quick release. In the end, it doesn't necessarily, I guess, surprise me, because look at what they did last year. Look at what they did last year with Tommy in terms of play style and budget. This isn't a high price pick, right? They probably saved a lot of money on this guy, on Ashton Daniels, in terms of, NIL budget. And you look at what he's produced in 4 years of college football. It's not a lot in terms of significance, in terms of his turnover ratio and the way he throws a football. So you're getting essentially a backup quarterback from Auburn, because he was, I believe, benched halfway through the year. Now, I don't want to say this is all doom and gloom, stuff like that, because I did watch his games against Vanderbilt and against Alabama. Those are the two games, if you are going to watch tape on him, I would recommend you watch that, because obviously those are the two biggest games he played in last year, and those are two of his better games he played last year, I would say. And in those games, unfortunately, I can't show them, or we'll get a copyright strike from, automatically from ESPN or whatever, and they'll post it on the channel. But in those games, as you can see here, Vanderbilt, he was 31 of 44, 2 touchdowns, 70% completion rate, and 89 rushing yards and 2 TDs. So he counted for 4 touchdowns on the game against Vanderbilt. Highly efficient. They lose that game in overtime on the road. You can't put that game on him. No turnovers, highly efficient, kept them in the game. This was a terrible Auburn team last year, right? Coach gets fired. kind of like Florida State, kind of chaos on the roster, chaos in the coaching staff, but he keeps them in the game against a very good Vanderbilt team on the road, and they lose in overtime. Against Alabama, sort of a similar story, less firepower, but it's 18-39, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Interception, receiver should have caught the ball against Alabama. It's a bobbled pass, hits off his hand, flies in the air. Guy intercepts it. Not on the quarterback there. He also runs for another 108 yards on the day. You look at his ability in those games, especially the Alabama game. It reminds me of how they may use him, obviously, in this offense in terms of kind of the play action, throwing out into the flats, the ability to then throw it to the tight end a couple of times, throw it down the field when it's open to him. The things I saw in that game, a very quick release. Sometimes you didn't see that quick release from Tommy. Sometimes you didn't see the quick decision-making from Tommy. Now, do I think that these games that Ashton played in is what we're going to see every day? No, I don't. And I think he's been very, very inconsistent in his career. Do I think he's an upgrade over Tommy Castellanos? I do. In terms of a passer, I absolutely do think he is a bit of an upgrade over Tommy Castellanos. But this is by no means an elite land for Florida State. And I think it would have been dumb of us to think we were going to land an elite quarterback for the system because we weren't hosting elite quarterbacks on campus. And coming off a 5-7 season, in which you have to replace a ton of starters in the trenches, a ton of starters and now linebackers and even backups you have to replace. You didn't have the budget to even do that because you have so many holes to fill. So am I a little disappointed because would I maybe have preferred Lagway or would I have preferred somebody else? Maybe, yeah. Is Lagway a huge upgrade over this? No, because Lagway is at risk too. Lagway is a turnover machine himself. His fundamentals aren't great either. Does Lagway have higher upside? Maybe. Yeah, I do. I think Lagway probably has higher upside. But people liked Ashton Daniels coming out of high school. People liked his stature, his size, his arm strength, his quick release, his athletic ability. So once again, we're kind of comparing apples to apples here when based on the guys we hosted, in the caliber of those guys of where they are right now in their careers. So at the end of the day, I don't think we can be too unhappy here with what we got, because based on who we hosted, we got that type of quarterback, and he does fit the system that Gus Malzahn wants to run. If we were running a pro style offense here, then no, this would be a horrible pick because we would be asking this guy to pass the ball 35, 40 times a game, but that is not the ask here. The ask is an athletic quarterback who can read who can, when called upon, read the one receiver, just have one star receiver, which we signed in Deuce Robinson. We got him back and be able to deliver the football to that guy when he's open. And I think Ashton should be able to do that more times than none. But it's not going to be perfect, and I'm not trying to sell you that. So I understand why people are unhappy, but this is who we're rolling with. And I think Florida State fans, if you're here, you should get on board with it because it's not changing. Now, the biggest question is, and I think the biggest debate in this is that, will there be a quarterback competition? Is he much better or talent caliber wise than Kevin Sperry? And will there be an open competition in the spring and even into the fall for the quarterback one competition? Because like I said, I showed you his stats. I showed you what he's done in the past, and he was a backup at Auburn. Was this a signee that promised him the quarterback one spot? And I don't know what these NIL agreements say. I don't know how much they signed up for, but I assume they didn't sign up for tier 1 money. But is this a thing where there will be a open competition for the QB1 spot where Kevin Sperry will get a fair shot at going for the number 1? Because the numbers I see here don't obviously scream to me like he should be guaranteed the spot. I think Kevin Sperry should have every opportunity to prove that he could get a nod at it. And if I'm Kevin Sperry, I would want some assurances that this will be an open competition. Because once again, I don't see things that anyone should be guaranteed this position right away. But that's something I will ask you guys in the chat, what you guys think about that. And Old Man, I'll ask you, what do you think about that?
I'm afraid to open my mouth. Can you hear me now?
Again,
everybody hear me now?
I can.
Okay, let me roll on. I'll keep my voice down. Ashton Daniels is and will be your starting quarterback day one, unless he is proved otherwise. Ashton Daniels, it's his job to lose, as they say. He was not brought here to have a competitive battle with Kevin Sperry. Kevin Sperry has had limited snaps. He's had under 50 snaps in his career at Florida State?
I think so. As a true freshman.
Maybe 25 snaps. I mean, something like that. So Mr. Daniels, Ashton Daniels, he's a 6'2", 220-pound quarterback, which is pretty good size. It's an upgrade in what they call the measurables over Tommy. He's from Buford, Georgia. Now, let's remember, he played a lot of snaps at Stanford, okay? Mm-hmm. He played a lot of snaps at Stanford. Basically, I think he had kind of a redshirt year. His first year was kind of like a redshirt year. And he had 2 other seasons at Stanford where he was pretty much the starting quarterback. At Stanford, he had 366 completions out of 602 attempts. For practically a 68% completion rate. Now, does that sound like a quarterback competition to you against Sperry? It doesn't me. Now, how much they ever paid, whatever the paycheck was to Ashton Daniels, I suppose it's in the $750 to the $1 million area. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. I'm saying, given the amount of snaps and ball he has played, he has come here with either I don't think there's ever a promise you're going to be the starter, but pretty much a wink and a nod that you're going to be the starter unless you have a terrible spring and a terrible fall camp. I mean, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think Ashton Daniels, first of all, at Stanford, during his career at Stanford, he threw 21 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. However, he gave up, but he was sacked by his offensive line. Stanford, as we know, not a great team until they beat Florida State, which was something else. But he gave up 48 sacks in 2 seasons there, basically at Stanford. So also what I like about him, and I don't think he's the guy I would have picked. I think it goes along with the theory that there is this budget program for 2026 season. He lost a lot of football games. He's played on a lot of losing teams. Yeah. They had like 3 wins in 2023 at Stanford. They had 3 wins in 2024. They had 5 wins in 25, and that's when he was at Auburn.
And he was only 3-1 in his 4 starts, I believe.
Yeah, I mean,
or 1-3 in his.
He's not had a great football career in terms of wins, but he's one guy on the field. Let's be honest about it. Now, here's something that I think we should focus on, and I've got a few other things. His last year there at Auburn, I think you already went over what those, he had, 68 completions for 797 yards. He rushed for 280 yards, 4.4 average with 2 touchdowns, 63 rushing attempts. Okay. But here's what I focused on too, and then I'll turn the mic back to you. The last game of the year, the Iron Bowl against Alabama, Auburn lost 27-20. He was the starting quarterback for Auburn. He played the entire game. He was 18-39 with 259 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. But he carried the ball for 23 times for 108 yards. Yeah. I believe Gus Malzahn, and checked off by Norvell and checked off by GM John Garrett, is looking at those types of balance, that he has a fairly high completion rate. But if you look at it on average, his completion rates are about 6 to 7 yards average. 6 to 7 yard average on the pass. They believe he is efficient enough in the pass game and complemented by his running, his ability to run, use his legs, and with an aggressive rush game with our running backs, he can possibly win 6, 7 games, maybe one more.
Yeah. He wasn't a great. Like I said, last year he played the last 4 games of the season. Once again, if you want to see him, watch those 2 final games against Vanderbilt and Alabama. That could be that against great competition, and you're going to see some good things. You'll see some bad things, but you'll see kind of how he'll play next year. I think with his offense, more or less. Not a great deep passer.
He's not good on the deep ball.
5 of 16 last year on balls of 20+ yards.
But Tommy wasn't good on the deep ball either.
But that's what I stress. I thought we needed to get someone who was better, because if you have a deep weapon, if you have speed on the edges, you want to exploit that. And that's what I hated about Tommy, is that he couldn't land those shots. I don't think, once again, you're going to struggle with those, but that's why you have to have at least a star one, so that you can make more of those contested one-on-ones. Now, he had Cam Coleman, and they still struggle on those, who is a great receiver. So we'll have to see. We're still going to struggle with the pass game, I believe, if we get behind. And that's just going to be a recipe for some mistakes. So like I said, I do believe it's a slight upgrade over Tommy, but it's not that big of an upgrade. So I don't think the offense is going to get a whole of a lot better. But I do think he has a quicker release. I do think his decision-making may be a little bit bigger. But I don't think it's going to fundamentally change the offense that much, in my opinion. So
I think it's probably a budget pick. As he said. That's what I said. And it's a kid that's hungry to prove he has more. I believe that I believe he feels that way. And I believe he would like to be in his career. He's never been on a winning team. He has not been on a winning team in college. And I'm sure that burns his ass a little bit. So I think he comes in hungry, but he is no doubt the starter, and it's his job to lose to someone else.
Okay.
In that regard. I think that if Gus Malzahn and Herb Hand can get the run game going again at 150 yards per game, it takes the pressure off him, right? Now, he threw the ball 39 times against Alabama. So, he can get back and fire it some in that regard. But
he was 46%.
But if you can keep him throwing more of the short passes, get the tight end involved in that game, get the running backs involved in the dump downs, and make him a smart quarterback, efficient quarterback with not multiple reads, but a couple of reads, and get Deuce Robinson to come back instead of just going for long balls. Have him do also some medium routes across the middle. What a target across the middle. And also the deep ball. I think you're right. I don't think he's any worse than Tommy. No. And it may be a slight upgrade than Tommy, in my opinion. But yeah, I think we're going to ride with Ashton Daniels, and best of luck to him.
And speaking of the offense, and you spoke of receivers, transitioning to that in the portal, it came out yesterday, kind of a breaking news, that Lawayne McCoy is going to be entering the portal, and I stated that that would be the fire alarm for me if you were going to lose a receiver who I thought maybe would be your number 2. I think he's your number 2 receiver over Micah Danzy in terms of production and upside. So looks like he's entering the portal. He's represented by, as it's pointed out, the DeSears twins, same agent.
There you go.
I think it's we'll see how this plays out, because you saw, whether it's true or not, you saw a bunch of guys jump in the portal, like Earl, or like like
Earl Little.
no, not Earl Little. I was talking about you saw guys early jump into the portal and get paid. So the guys the defensive back who jumped in and then jumped out. Now I can't think of his name. Jabril Rawls. You saw guys like that jump the portal. You saw Juice Robinson get retained. Get retained. He was kind of muddling probably things over, whether it was NFL or portal. Saw him get retained and confirm he's coming back. I think when you saw a flurry of guys get quickly retained and sign deals, then you saw guys determining who. Now these guys that are jumping in late, I think it was maybe assigned to them that either, hey, now I want to get paid. I saw all these guys get paid. I want to get paid now. And we'll see what happens. I think he's a guy that probably could get paid, but maybe seeing Deuce Robinson kind of pushed him to want to get paid a little bit more. And it's interesting. Now, the thing with the Sear twins, what we're hearing now, which is interesting, once again, this is speculation. How much of this is true or not, we don't know, because there's a lot of, with the portal era, there's a lot of rumors flying around. But with the Sear twins, what they're saying is that they had a deal committed to, that they had signed about a week or two ago. So they were already extended, they were signed for the next season, and now they are kind of reneging on that deal. And they're saying, no, we don't want that deal anymore. We want to jump in and test the waters now. And so they're trying to back out of that deal that they signed and renege on that deal essentially. So we'll see how it goes. And we're seeing this kind of going across the board. We're seeing the kid at Washington who wants to go against his deal now, and he had signed a deal with Washington, and now he's wanting to go to LSU. And once again, I'm not saying they did this or not. That is a speculation that they signed that deal with Florida State, and now they're kind of wanting to go against that deal and test the waters themselves, or they just want to get paid beyond the numbers of that deal. But this is a disturbing trend, not just with Florida State players, but I think across NIL, that players or agents aren't informing players that once you sign this deal, this is a legal contract.
Who the hell doesn't know that shit? Seriously. How this shit gets to me. This gets to me. Listen, this is simple contract law. Period. And we're not picking on the Sear twins or McCoy or anyone else. If Florida State gives a legal binding contract and it's signed by the player, and then they want to renege that, or they want to come back to Florida State and say, listen, we don't really like that deal anymore, we want to go into the portal. If Florida State's willing to take the contract and rip that shit in half and throw it away, then okay. But if Florida State says, no, you have a legal binding contract to play for this football team for one season, and we're going to hold you to it. And if you don't play or whatever, and there should be, that's why I always say it should be performance incentives. If you don't meet the performance incentives and what's in the contract, then you're going to get sued. We're going to sue you and any agent that represented you. Keep this shit simple. Make this a binding deal and quit screwing around with these people. We got to stop putting out the red carpet every time. And I like the Desir twins. I like McCoy. I like Earl Little. I think they can all be big contributors to this football team. But a legal contract is just that, unless the other side says it's not legal because of X.
But I think, to your point, is, if you sign a deal and there's buyout language, okay, you're due the buyout language. And you buy your way out of the contract. And as Zach Bolstein has posted in the thread here, he says it's not an insignificant amount that they would owe FSU. And so maybe they're trying to navigate around that. But if that's a deal and you guys want out and you want to play somewhere else, pay the amount and you're free.
Exactly.
And we should twist that into being Florida State's greedy. That's contract. That's the contract. If you agreed to something and you said you're coming back for $1 million and buyout $750K,
exactly.
Well, go sign somewhere else and then have that school pay the buyout.
listen, and let's make this very
This is a business.
clear.
This is a business. Now.
This is a legal business. The money is too big. This is a legal business. So whether it's, and we have no inside knowledge of the Twins are doing this. It could be all just crap out there, whether it's McCoy or anybody else. There's nothing, I hope the Twins stay on this football team. I really do. And you know what? There's so much nonsense floating around on social media. I see it all the time. You know what I mean? And the example is any player on any team across the country. If they've signed a contract, KB, if you signed a contract to have a new pool attached to your home, and it gives all the specifications, and you sign it for a guaranteed amount, you're going to be held to that contract. That's how it really works. And then the only way out is if you have a lawyer that says, see, no, doesn't make it legal or something. You know, but just because a guy signs something, he comes back and goes, can I get out of this? At some point, each university has to hold the player to the standard as an education process, if nothing else. Period. And that's why when you write a contract for a player, you've got to be very careful in there of what you write in there. And when the player signs it, he has to fully understand it, hand it to his agent, who hands it to a lawyer to look it all over and understand it.
Yes.
This isn't stuff done on a cafeteria napkin. Yeah. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars that takes the normal fan out here, you or myself, takes years to make the kind of money we're talking about here. Yeah. And so I think you go back to the example of Deuce Robinson. There were crickets on all his negotiations. Crickets. And for any other players that are talking about, well, I expect to do this or I expect to do that, or these social media sites who start saying, you know my feelings on this, here we go. Here we go on my feelings. I don't believe anything. I don't believe anything that says expected to enter or this. Where is that? You know, when people say, well, sources say, I believe a lot of the sources that social media puts out are made up, okay, because that's how it works. They're made up, and there's little visibility on really what's going on. So let's not really hammer the Desir twins. Everybody likes the Desir twins or anyone else on this board. This is business between the university and business with the players. And you know what? I respect and understand this is business.
Yep, exactly. This isn't just for them. It's just in general. Yeah, it's just in general. So we'll see how that pans out. I would love to have them back.
But that did catch a lot of attention. That matter that we just talked has caught a lot of attention. Especially nationally.
The Washington one is
exactly
at this point.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so we'll see what happens with them. We'll see what happens to Lawayne McCoy. I would like to keep him, but in his case, you kept your primary number one. You kept Deuce Robinson, which I think is most important, especially for an offense like this, which is promulgated around a number one receiver. The secondary and third receivers are kind of not as important because they can be replaced. But I'd like what Lawayne McCoy and the promise he brings and what he started to show at the end of last season. So if you can retain him, great. But you can't afford to overpay him.
Now, Champs has come in with a comment that McCoy hasn't entered the portal yet. And you know why? I was on Seminoles.com. To me, that's the official word, period. That thing, and you know, if you look on there, guys who have graduated and have no eligibility are still on there. Castellanos is on there. A lot of guys are on there. So I know you said, well, they're always out of date. I don't believe that. If they're out of date, someone should be fired. The information officer in that office should be fired. That's ridiculous. I think if you're still enrolled in school for a semester or the remainder of the year, you perhaps stay on that roster, okay, until you're committed and have exited the university. That's my thinking. I don't know that, but I plan on writing something to the university SIO and ask him that, because it's loaded with guys from last season who are not eligible anymore. So I don't, again, with Champs here, McCoy, he said he was around the facility all day. Champs, where did you get that information? Were you there to see that? Or are you getting it off social media, from somebody credible? But, at this point, I do believe a guy like McCoy would like to stay at Florida State, but he's leveraging the portal money to see. And until the day Florida State says, listen, if you enter your name officially into the portal, and I don't have access to the portal to see it, if you enter your name in there, you do not come back to this university.
Okay. A couple of things. I think it's, everyone said, according to On3, he was planning to enter.
Planning.
And the other thing is that it does kind of makes, with this type of offense, a guy like him, if he's looking to get 800 yards, he's not going to get 800 yards in this type of offense. Like, this type of offense isn't built around 3 receivers to get a lot of yards.
No,
so
absolutely
if he is
not.
looking to be a primary number 2 guy, and get big yardage, he's not going to get it in the Gus Malzahn offense, and that's just the way it is. So he either probably wants to get paid more to stay and contribute
and
know his role, or he needs to go somewhere else if he wants to be heavily involved and try to be a number 1, because they have their number 1 who's going to get most of the touches, Deuce Robinson. He'll likely be the 1,000-yard receiver again, and then you're going to have complementary guys who get cleanup, essentially. That's how this offense is built for the passing game. And that's
right.
There's not going to be 2 guys that get 1,000 yards on this. This isn't the Jordan Travis offense.
This is not Texas Tech offense where they throw the ball all over the place.
2023.
No,
this is the offense from 2023. That's not how it's going to be like with an 800 yard and 1,000. Like, that's not it. There'll be one guy that gets most of the yardage, and there'll be 2 complementary.
Well, if you're only throwing 25 to 35 passes a game, targets.
Less than that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be, maybe 25 at that. The goal is to establish the run game and then to set up the pass 20 times. And most of those will go to Deuce.
But let's say it. If, in fact, McCoy goes into the portal and Boggs, who had high potential, has gone into the portal, it's a hit. It's a hit to the wide receiver room, but there are a lot of wide receivers out there. Okay, out there and available.
You would go back to Boggs and say, we'll give you what we were going to pay McCoy if you want to come back, essentially.
It's
McCoy
on the going.
A massive raise. I would say we'll give you McCoy's money and give it to you, Boggs, if you want to come back and compete again.
It's a master chess game, and it keeps going on to a player, whether they're at Florida State or not, decides to make a move and signs papers, not expected, but signs papers officially at another university.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Let's keep this shit simple. Now, some of the agents representing these guys, they could be fools for all I know. How much do they know? Anybody. We could go out and be agents. There's no registration process that I'm aware of for the NCAA right now. You and I could have our own sports agency. We could get Champs there, and we could get Spartan Knoll and set up our own little sports agency. As far as I know, right?
I don't.
You don't have to be a lawyer. No, you think all these agents are lawyers?
I don't feel like dealing with 18-year-olds and money. I really don't.
Shit, I will. I'll deal with it.
Good luck.
Call me if you need an agent. If you need an agent, I'll be glad to represent you.
All right, let's talk about some of the recent.
The Old Man LLC Sports Agency.
I'm sure they'll love
I will.
You.
Well, I'm logical. I keep things simple, and if we sign a deal, you're gonna do the deal. That's it.
All right, some of the newest transfers that have come through. Let's talk about those. Some of the bigger ones are on the offensive line. Good to see those. So we've signed in the last 2 days 3 offensive linemen. 2 of the biggest ones, one of the biggest ones, in my opinion. And once again, these aren't 5-star transfers, stuff like that, but the reliable guys that I think can be utilized on our line. The first one's going to be Paul Bowling from Troy. This is an interesting guy. Started freshman true freshman starting for Troy, first time in I think program history for an offensive lineman to start for their program. I think all 12 games for them. He's an interesting prospect, a guy that Herb Hand was able to bring in. I liked his evaluate, liked his tape. And this is a kid that will be expected to compete right away for Florida State is the assumption there. Like I said, he had decent grades out of Troy in terms of his playmaking grades. I'll put those up on the screen once I got them here. But I think this is a good prospect and a guy, like I said, that you could potentially keep in the fold for a couple years if you're lucky. And I'll put up his block.
He's 3 years left. As far as I know.
Exactly. He played as a true freshman this year. So good upside there. I mean, Florida State can't even get freshmen to play. But as you can see here, his best game of the year was against James Madison. 75 pass blocking grade, 74 run blocking grade, overall 74. And stayed healthy outside the Texas State game this year. I like it. Durable. Overall, he had an offensive passing grade of 60.
Big guy.
He can improve.
Good measurables.
315.
Yeah.
Now, where will they move him around? Where's Sandman going to go if he's playing center? We'll have to see. But I think he's a guy you can.
Well, he can play guard too. He's played some guard too, so he can play on the inside. I don't think he's tall enough and wingspan long enough to play tackle on the outside, but he's slotted to be on the offensive guard or the center, as a backup, or he could be,
Good call. And he played against Clemson, had a decent game against Clemson, 63 passing grade there. Like I said, best game of the year was at the end against 74 JMU. So high upside. Can he improve? Absolutely. And that's what you're hoping with a guy like this.
I think with Herb Hand, Herb Hand is a likable guy. I don't know Herb Hand. We haven't sat down and had dinner, but Herb Hand seems like, a guy who you can relate to, communicate with, and learn from. So, Mr. Bowling, welcome to the squad. Paul, listen, I think with 3 years to go here possibly, or in the next 2 years, if you stay with it, I think you got a shot at the next level. So hopefully that'll work out. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's funny that we'll have a true sophomore playing at Florida State, and we never got one of Atkins recruits to play here as a sophomore. just.
And Lucas Simmons hasn't been picked up yet, right?
I believe he has. Yes, he has. I believe
he was
signing with Wisconsin. If I'm I believe. Sorry, he signed. I thought with Wisconsin. Yep, he signed with Wisconsin.
Okay, he signed with Wisconsin. Now another offensive lineman left. He hadn't played a lot of freshmen.
Let's just keep with the commitments.
Okay.
Let's stick with the commitments.
All right.
So the next commitment we're going to talk about is Nate Pabst from Bowling Green. Once again, this is a guy that I believe has 1 year left.
1 year.
But he's a high impact guy, 6'5", 315. Tackle, has improved every single season he's played, and he's played some decent competition, Cincinnati, Louisville.
Yes.
So once again, not power conference obviously, but he's had some big games against some decent.
And he's played a lot. Yeah.
And he's continued to improve. He's a big body. He's got great experience in terms of snaps. Stays healthy for the most part, which you'd like. He's not been out multiple seasons or multiple games, and I think he was an all-conference player as well in the MAC there. So once again, veteran presence, a guy that you can look to as a leader on that line as you've lost all your leaders and you've lost a good amount of depth as well from the trenches. And I think this is a very, very solid pickup by Herb Hand, the guy that he's also looking for leaders on the line, guys who he can count on to, come in and kind of, if people are out of place or, he needs captains on that line and guys he can trust to run this system for him, along with Gus Malzahn. So I think this is a great pickup. And Clay had a good call out here. 726 snaps at right guard, left guard. This guy's played all across the board. So this is a utility guy really too. So if he can move all across the line essentially and kind of be a gadget guy all across the line. So if someone's hurt, if someone he needs to plug in here and there, this is great. So only 1 sack allowed, 14 pressures in 2025. And Clay compares him to like a Jake Rizzi. So yeah, we'll see how he does. And he's an older type of player. So like I said, more of a veteran guy, but yeah, we'll take it. And I think between him and Paul Bowling, these are probably two of the more talented guys you signed in terms of veteran O-line presence. The third guy you signed today, or who's committed, is I think more of a maybe project, or people are still filling out how he looks. The kid from Purdue, Braden Joyner, he just committed today, I believe. And we'll see that come through. He's coming from Purdue. Once again, better competition, though. He's played 2 seasons across Auburn and Purdue. This last season he was there. 6'2", 310. He'll have 2 seasons remaining. But once again, this is a guy that's played greater competition, so his grades may reflect that, right? He wasn't playing in the MAC. He wasn't playing in a non-power conference. You can see his grades actually are decent against some of the lower teams in the Big Ten. Had some tougher games against USC and Ohio State. But once again, this is a guy you'll take, I think, one, because he has 2 years and can continue to develop. But also, he's played a higher level of competition that you may not see in the ACC. And he's had, like I said, some decent games against Indiana. And he hasn't given up a ton of sacks. It looks like he only gave up 1 sack the entire year. And you can count that. And a guy that stayed healthy, a guy that wasn't, didn't tear his ACL, coming off a torn ACL, a guy that was able to stay on the field consistently and wasn't giving up massive amounts of pressure. Now, he gave up a good amount of hurries, but those didn't necessarily turn into sacks.
Man, those are subjective.
Yeah. But I think it's an interesting prospect here. And I think, once again, I'm going to trust Herb Hand's evaluations here because I do trust him as one of the better coaches.
He had a decent offensive line from the portal last season. So, yeah, I think there's a degree of trust there. And obviously, the guy you're talking about is plays center, which is a critical position, and that's Braden Joyner, right? That's who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Braden Joyner from Purdue, Big Ten competition. And everything you said about him, I agree with. I think that's a great pickup.
The pressures do. It was the most pressures in the Power 4 for centers. So it is something that you can't totally dismiss. And he did play left guard at Auburn, and you have to say,
and that's okay.
Where does Sandman go? Is Chaz not going to play this year? Or
no, I don't think that.
Left guard? They move this kid to left guard.
I don't think that's a problem. I don't think that's a problem. Your center position in that offensive line is a critical position, not only from performance but leadership and pointing out what he wants done. So, given that he has been a center at Big Ten competition, and he has 2 seasons to go, I believe he's your number 1 center. I've penciled him in as the number 1 center at this point, and or if Sandman's really ready to make the jump, then you could potentially move one or the other to a guard position.
Yeah, I mean his numbers at left guard for Auburn weren't great. He had 3 sacks, 8 hurries in a handful of games. It looks like almost 12 games here, 10 or 11 games here. So maybe that's why they transitioned.
Are you talking about Sandman or Joyner now?
No, Joyner played at Auburn his first year.
Yeah, okay.
And then he transitioned to Purdue. But he played at left guard in his freshman year at Auburn.
Well, that was some time ago.
He gave up 3 sacks. So it makes me wonder why they moved him to center. Maybe it wasn't a great position. So, it'll be interesting to see how Herb Hand handles that. Because there's only one of them that's played left guard, I believe, or left guard before, which would be Braden Joyner. So it'll be interesting. But at least this guy, once again, he has the experience at both. He has a good amount of snaps. He's a younger guy as well. He's got 2 years experience, and he's got a lot of snaps in 2 years, which is good against high level competition. So guy you can work with.
I hope that Herb Hand, and I've felt this way for a long time, that the offensive line, you can't make it so complicated in your blocking schemes that the guys have to think through every play of changing the blocking coverage and everything. If you do that, you're going to take away from their abilities. And that's in any position in football as far as I'm concerned. You've got to simplify the system, especially when you don't have a lot of time to work with guys. You're having to rebuild for the second year in a row an entire offensive line, including the depth pieces, the pieces behind them. So if you don't simplify your blocking systems, you're going to pay for it during the performance of games.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Another guy I want to talk about who's on the other side of the trenches who committed, we actually talked about him visiting the other day, is we got a commitment from Rylan Kennedy, the big defensive edge from Texas A&M. The goal was, I believe, to match him up with one of the Sear twins on the other edge, but that may be in uncertain terms right now. But he's 6'3", 239. He played 3 years at Texas A&M. Big guy. Decent production. I wouldn't say off the chart.
He was a role player.
But yeah, 3 sacks last year, 14 total pressures, 11 hurries. But when you look at his numbers compared to the kid from I already forgot his name, James Williams. Double the amount of production that I believe James Williams had last year. So people may say, oh, why do we bring it? Well, it's almost double the production. So once again, it's not eye-popping numbers that this kid had last year, but I think he's a bigger guy. He looks physically stronger. He's not 6'5", 6'6". Like, he looks like a defensive end that can do things. And once again, the level of competition he played against was a lot higher. So it'll be interesting to see how he performs for Florida State last year. I don't think it's a certainty that he's going to be a dominating edge. But it feels like he's taken a step lower in competition, I would say. And I think he's going to have the opportunity to show what he can do in the ACC. And if you look at his numbers against LSU and against Florida and against Mississippi State, he had some decent games, but he should be able to get a lot more snaps. Consistent. That was the issue last year at Texas A&M. He didn't get consistent amount of snaps. It was up and down, up and down. He wasn't always on the field. And I think he's going to get probably the opportunity to be on the field, maybe a 3-down type of guy. So we'll see how they utilize him.
Yeah, I think you summarized that pretty well on Rylan Kennedy. He's got 2 seasons remaining. And what I like, and it came up by Rodnick's, one of our loyal fans, Rodnick's, he said, just like he said up here on the offensive line we were just talking about, is created a potential 2-year interior guy. Let's take, in this case, we were talking about the O-line. But I like this, getting a 2-year guy, okay? Because then you have a chance to retain his services, retain their service. Now, everybody's a free agent here. We get that. But with 2 years of eligibility, if he connects with the coaching staff and he's had a successful season, I think there's some, they want to come back. There's a comfortability about it. Not everybody's one of these comfortable. Some people are adventurers. Every year they're going to pop out. That's how it works if they have the tape. Yeah. But I think Rodnick makes a really good point there. And I agree. I think he was, Rylan Kennedy was a depth piece for them and a special situation guy, and I think he's coming here to hunt down and get on the field a little bit more. So welcome Rylan Kennedy to Florida State.
All right, and then the last commitment to talk about, unless there's one breaking, is we got a tight end commitment. So we talked about how Rocky Beers kind of
the guy with the clown pants.
Who spurned us and
am I wrong? Find that. Someone out there find the clown.
He already talked about it. But I believe he committed to Oklahoma after the visit here. He did. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
But we signed the other guy that we hosted with him in Desrilio Riles from ECU. And these guys were very similar in terms of their production. I believe so. I believe Rocky Beers had like 300 yards in more proven production, but I think they bring similar tools to the table. Both these guys, Desrilio Riles is athletic, 6'3", 238, kind of very similar in type of size, a big receiver, athletic guy. And I think he's going to give Florida State some tools to play with. If you look at some of his highlights online, very quick for a 6'3" guy, very shifty. And I think he's going to play into what Gus Malzahn wants to do with a tight end. You're not going to throw to this guy, 50 times in a year or 75 times in a year, right? But you're going to scheme him out, and hopefully when he gets the ball, he can run it for 50, 30, 40, or make it into a big play. He's athletic enough to do that, and he's athletic enough to get open when the play calls for it, or use him in a trick play, or use him into a scheme. So he does have, I believe, from watching some of this tape, this guy does have some of those Pittman traits, and I think you got him probably at a discounted rate versus having to retain a Pittman necessary or pay a Pittman-like price. So I once again, I don't think this guy's going to be a superstar for Florida State. Does he have the upside? Yeah, I think he has some upside. For this year, and I was looking at his old stats, but yeah, he had 362. I thought he had similar numbers. Yeah, he had 362 yards this year. Rocky Beers had similar numbers. As you can see, he had some, 87 yards FAU, Temple 50 yards. So once again, not elite competition, but these tight ends, they can do good things. 49 yards against NC State. He was 6 of 8 targets there. And the good thing here is that his pass blocking is pretty good for a guy his size, and that's what you want to see in that.
That's his primary duty.
We know that's something that's important for the scheme as well, and that's something that'll keep him on the field, and that's something that'll allow him to get targets his way as well. So I think this is a good, solid addition and something that didn't break the budget for Florida State. And I don't think, Rocky Beers was probably their first target, but I think he probably was just using Florida State as leverage to get paid more by Oklahoma, is my gut feeling there. So yeah, we welcome this guy aboard, and I'll be interested to see what he can do. But I think, yeah, he'll be able to replace what Pittman gave us without having us to spend too much on him. So yeah.
No, that's a good analysis. I agree with everything you said there. Nothing much to add there. I think Rizio Riles has played decent enough competition that coming into the ACC, I don't think is going to give him any fear. And I think he can play at that tight end position well enough for this team. And I'd like to see him involved a little bit more in the pass play, as everybody knows. But yeah, I think it's a good addition. I think it's a budget buy on this one. So
and you brought Landon Thomas back. You retained Landon Thomas, and we can't forget that. So we obviously we need to get him involved. I still think we got a lot of upside in that guy, and you shouldn't have retained him if you weren't going to use him. So it will be interesting to see how they use those two together.
And you have the guy coming off the injured list who was injured as a freshman. They like
Chase Lofton.
Chase Lofton. So when you have Riles, Thomas, and Chase Lofton, I mean, you got a pretty good 3 there in the room, and you got a couple other guys in there, in the tight end room. But those guys should be able to get it done.
Interesting enough, they speaking of Lofton and Lofton, they were kind of playing that receiver last year, so I don't know how they'll be using him. But they hosted Chase Lofton's brother today, Braden Lofton, who's a tight end at Kansas State. So I don't know what's going on with the tight end position, but they hosted, his brother today, Braden Lofton, who doesn't have a ton of statistics at Kansas State. So I don't know if I don't know if this is like a preferred walk-on type of thing.
We don't know. We don't know
what the play is here.
Yeah.
But I don't.
We don't.
I don't know what you would do with 4 tight ends. Really.
They've had bigger tight end rooms before. I mean, they've had several people in there.
But this guy hasn't gotten a lot of burn at his
he'd come in as a project. He'd come in as a project.
But he only has 1 year left. So he doesn't have time to be a project.
Yeah, maybe they're going to try to figure out something so the brothers can be on the same team. That's kind of cool. But is it a business decision? They're not going to put a lot of money into that. They're not going to put a lot of money. And if Chase says, well, I'm going to walk, then he walks. Yeah. I'm not a guy. I've never been a guy. When you back me into a corner and you start laying demands on me, unless you're some superstar, I'm not even going to turn up the volume. You're just running noise by me. I don't think that's the case. I think maybe they'll bring him in like we do with some of the legacy players. To be honest, my feelings on that. I've talked about that. A lot of the legacy players are courtesy moves. These are courtesy moves. So Chase's brother, it could be a courtesy move, and that's okay. Maybe he can contribute on special teams. Maybe he's a great special teams player. You never see any stats on that.
He could also be a target, a big target. He's 6'5", 230, a big body.
Yeah.
I think he'd be one of the bigger tight ends.
A situational guy. Yeah, 6'5", too. Yeah, you put a down in the red zone. So maybe he can come in and not be an every down guy, but he can make a contribution. And they don't have to sell the farm to get him. His brother's already here.
So
I mean, that's a special memory for sure.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So we'll monitor that. We'll monitor that situation. A couple other things about visits today. Florida State was also hosting a couple of other offensive line targets today. One of them was a offensive line transfer from Auburn, Xavier Chaplin. So Chaplin, he arrived today, as it states here, by Chris Nee. I think this is a guy they obviously they got him on campus, but they definitely want to land here because they're looking for that guard position, which is, for this offense, a critical position. You got to trust that guard position. Probably one of the more important positions on that line. If we're looking at it, if we look at kind of his grades from the last year, he was a starter on that in that left tackle the tackle position. He was SEC guy, graded out. Not great in the run blocking, but pass blocking graded out as 71 for the season, which is pretty above average. But the run blocking was not fantastic. Gave up 3 sacks, 11 hurries. Definitely has room for improvement. But definitely a guy with a ton of experience that you could count on if you want to go in this direction. And I think it's someone that you would definitely take a chance on, because like I said, you are gutted in the trenches here, and a guy that started his career at Virginia Tech. So he's played 4 years of college football right now, and 6'7", 348. It's a big man, a big man that could hopefully move bodies. Like I said, I haven't seen a lot of his tape yet, but he's got a ton of experience, and and he's had some big games, he's had some bad games, but
who do you see on our current roster from last year in the offensive line room that you believe is ready to be a starter?
We don't. I mean,
I'll help you, Otto. Otto.
He would be at the.
And it looks like Otto's not going anywhere. He was playing some ball. I don't know how many reps he had, but he was kind of one of their backups as needed. I think he played more than Sandman did.
Yeah.
He played more than Sandman did.
Because Pedamon was...
No, I understand that, but it's still, he played more, okay? So he had more reps on the field. So to me, I think Otto is in the mix. So I'm keeping a board. Actually, I have papers right now, but it is going to be a board, my lineup board of who I see as the starters as I pencil them in. I've still got 4 spots on the offensive line now that we must fill, and it'll be more than that. At one point last season, we had 18 to 20 offensive linemen. 18 to 20. So, right now, when you get to Otto and Sandman, it really drops off because a lot of those guys have quote, expected to leave, have left, right? So, Sandman and Otto must step up. If they don't step up, then they must step away at the end of the season. Okay? Would you agree or disagree?
I mean, yeah, if they're not playing this year, they have to step away for their own future. If they're not playing this year, they got to definitely step away next season.
I think they have to make that step this year, especially Otto, okay, at this point. So we have several positions to go in the offensive line room. And so I'm sure Herb Hand is keeping the midnight oil, as they say, lit up and really having to get after it, like the defensive line area interior. Okay? Yep. What about pot roast? I haven't heard anything coming from the pot roast camp except the possible loss of DeSears twins.
No
and
pot roast so far of interior defensive linemen that I see scheduled.
That's not a good sign. That's not a very good sign. And pot roast was not involved in the Ryland Kennedy get. That's from the new head coach. He gets credit for that, from what I read.
And in fact, the defensive end coach has another guy on campus, I believe in Noah Carter, the Alabama transfer who has 3 years left, and a guy that people are very high on in signing. And
that's Williams again.
And apparently he made a very good impression, the coach did, on Noah Carter. And this is a guy that Florida State would definitely like to sign. And like you said, that's Williams again, who's doing the recruiting there. So yeah, I'm not really sure what Pot Roast is up to. But this is a guy that Florida State
better get busy.
Limited time would like to sign because of multiple years available. But in 3 hurries.
Do we have any visits? Yeah, do we have any visits even set up for defensive interior linemen?
Not that wow. I don't see everything, but not that I've seen on like Tomahawk Nation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Official things that I've seen, no, I haven't seen any of that. For interior defensive line, no, I have not seen that.
Yeah, that's a little scary. But again, remember, the portal window is for people who want to jump out of their present team and look for other places to work. It doesn't mean Florida State can't sign people after the 16th of January. That's when the signings continue and the negotiations continue. So the window is open for you to jump from your present team into the unknown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
But that ends at that point, unless you're on one of the playoff teams and you have additional days and stuff like that, or a coach gets fired and all of that stuff, which happens. It happens. Yeah. So the recruitment can continue after the 16th.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we to your point, I mean, we need to have a backup plan. I mean, we should have a plan for that defensive line because you lost Daryl Jackson, you lost KJ Sampson. You could lose.
You probably can't see it, but here's my draft right now. You see, I have one name there, Kennedy.
God, I hope our coaches have a better board than that because that's scary.
That's my board, except for the guys that are on the team now, which are unknown.
And you want to be a sports agent. You're dealing with a lot. Jesus Christ! Oh God.
No, you tell me then. Who are your top defensive tackles?
Based on the performance of our staff, that's probably what they are dealing with. I mean, that's what.
No. Are you getting on me about it?
Yes, I am.
What? Well, you tell me. I'm looking to put some names in here as starters on the interior defensive line. Who are they? And I'll be glad to consider them for my board. Okay, I've got Rylan Kennedy right now on as one of the rush defensive edge. Who else? Okay, give me a name that's on the team now.
He's on the team until he's not.
Well, okay, that's true, but I'm not penciling him in yet with the rumors out there. Who else? Mandrell? Both of those?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 2 there, maybe. Okay, who else? Who else you got? If I had a pencil, I'll put them in pencil if I can find one here. Here, in the Tampa office, I got my pencil. Okay, right here. I'm going to put it down. Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
Daniel Lyons, he's still on the team, right?
He's still on the team.
Yeah.
Do you see him as a starter?
Yeah, you'll have to be.
You sound like you're under pressure here. Okay, so we got Lyons. Let's put Lyons in. Who else you got for me? I'm not trying to put pressure on you, but
no, Jalen Jones is gone, so he's gone. Is McCoy back? Is he?
No, he left. He's out.
Yeah, he's out. So it would be Daryl Desir at one end.
Mandrell Desir. Yeah, so we got.
It'll be Daryl Desir. It'll be Daryl Desir, the new kid for Texas A&M. Kevin Wynn's back, right? He'd be nose tackle. Right?
Okay.
In the middle. So it'd be you have on your line Daryl Desir, Mandrell, Kevin Wynn, and then the Texas A&M guy. Those 4.
Okay. So you feel good with all of that?
I don't feel good about it, but that's what you have.
And then who are your backups? No. We're not going to go there now. We're not going there now. I'm just kind of tracking this with guys who are bringing in who are getting committed and who we got. I'm trying to put together my starting lineup as the coach. I love doing this. I could be the general manager. John Garrett, if you need a guy who's going to scrutinize stuff, bring me in You call me, I'm there the next day. You call me, I'm there the next day.
I'm sure he's running to the phone right now.
And I'm also a guy that questions a lot of stuff. I question a lot of stuff. And I don't mind being that guy to question people's names that come to your office.
Well, we know Florida State is in need of a linebacker and in need of multiple linebackers, because they've lost Justin Cryer, they've lost Omar Graham, two of their.
And what do I have on my linebackers?
Yeah, I mean
blanks.
blanks.
Nicholson.
He's still there.
Yeah, he's playing. Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
And Florida State was somehow, this could be another trampoline play for this guy. But they were able to get a guy I talked about a week ago that I said, you got to land this kid if you get him on campus. Rasheem Biles is set to visit Florida State. All ACC playmaker, 4.5 sacks, 2 pick sixes, 101 tackles. This guy's a playmaker. This guy's a stud. This guy would be immediately the best linebacker you've had probably since 2023.
Where's he from?
Pitt.
Oh, Pitt, yeah.
He's a playmaker. He's visiting Colorado, set to visit Florida State. You can't let him leave campus without signing if you're serious. If Mike Norvell,
what's his value, you think? What do you believe?
$1 million.
He's $1 million linebacker?
Yeah.
How many years has he got left?
I believe he has 2 years left. 2 years? But he could be going pro if he balls out again. I mean, that's the that's the game you play there.
When's he coming in?
He'll have 2 years. He's set, I believe. I don't know if there's a date set. It's this week. He's supposed to come in.
Well, they should have their best deal ready to go and say, this is the best deal we can do. Here it is.
But he was one of the top. Yeah, you got this. A guy last 2 years has been dominant. Little missed a couple of weeks, banged up. That should hurt his value. That you may hold that over his head in his value. But once again, you may say, well, Pitt, ACC linebacker, but like I said,
no, that
I'm not
doesn't
saying
matter.
he's going to be the next statue. You're not going to build a statue of this guy, I don't think. But you need a playmaking linebacker, and Blake Nicholson, no offense, is not going to be that. This guy can bring consistency to your linebacking room, and he may be able to track other guys.
Is he gonna blow up the holes? I think because so, yeah. in defense, Tony White will tell you this, but I'll tell you it tonight. Your defensive interior folks are there to not only get to the quarterback, get to the ball carrier, but they're also there to hold up the linemen so the linebackers can come to the holes and make the tackles. Your linebackers are going to make a lot of tackles if things are working right. Now you're saying, well, that's 2 or 3 yards down the road. Well, yeah, that's true. But those linebackers, if they fill the holes, the running back shouldn't be 4, 5, 6 yards down if it's working properly. So we're going to need guys. We're going to need some guys besides Nicholson and Cottrell. Those are your starters right now. Who else you got for a starter?
You don't.
No one.
AJ.
So I'm not trying to. AJ. I'm not trying to be negative. We're not trying to be. This is just reality. I'm just trying to put together my lineup card for game 1, which is not that far away.
But yeah, I mean, I think but once again, this guy could be leveraging you, or leveraging him,
or using you. Yeah, you could be. Well, yeah, you have to figure that out before you bring a guy down. Don't let a guy play you. Yeah.
When you see his grade of, his defensive grade was a 84.9 average last year. Your linebackers last year, Blake Nicholson had a 68.4. Elijah Herring had a 60.2. Omar Graham had a 65.9. AJ Contrell had a 75.2 in limited action, but 75.2. Stephon Thompson in limited action, 74.7 was your highest last year in the linebacking. Justin Cryer was a 56.7. This guy would be head and above your top linebacker from last year. And in terms of pressures and sacks, would be your leader from last year. So that's what I'm saying. This guy would be a difference maker, head and shoulders. I mean, your top linebacker, Stephon Thompson, sacks was with 4. in total pressures, your top linebacker. This guy had 18 pressures by himself. Your top linebacker in pressures last year was Stephon Thompson with 8. That's what I'm saying. This guy is a player.
And he left.
And he left. And he's looking to get top dollar because of what he did. So that's what
And that's not going to be unusual in years to come. In some ways it motivates the best players. If you money, they say money is not a motivator. Well, it makes life easier. Okay, so money can be a motivator, especially for ball players, to try to get to the NFL. But here, even in this league now, you're going to get paid. You're going to get paid well if you put the tape out there for people to see. So it's very important. And just like you talk about that, Cam Davis signed with Liberty, which I, kind of caught my eye there just a little bit. But you know what I said? Good for Cam Davis. He's probably going to get to play there.
And we said that. We said that. He's got to get on the field.
Go someplace where you can play. Go someplace where you can put something on tape. And so Cam Davis is at Liberty.
And once again, I think he has smart advice, whether it was him, his parents, they all made a smart decision for him. He didn't make a stupid move by like Luke Kroenhawk and went to Mississippi State and sat on the bench.
But Luke just signed. Who did he just sign with? He just committed.
USF, and then they just signed another quarterback. And once again, so he's stuck in the same shithole situation again where he's not going to play. Instead of going the Cam route and saying, I'm going to take a step down and I'm going to have a better opportunity to play, now Luke is stuck in this cycle of, never getting on the field.
Well, I'm sure he's going to go into USF. They have an open quarterback position, so he'll get to compete there. He'll get to compete.
Good luck.
Yeah. So I don't think it's
made a great move. Cam Davis made a great move.
Cam Davis made a good move, and if he can stay healthy, he's had a little problem staying healthy, and he's built like a damn fire plug, man. He looks pretty damn solid, but things can go wrong. Champs put out some. Here's your linebackers. Now, LaValle, you never hear anything about him. Now, he came over
last year.
Yeah, he was hurt. So maybe he'll step up and have a good year. I don't pencil him on my lineup card yet. But, and then you got that freshman incoming, but he hasn't had a snap, at this level. So
yeah,
we shall see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, if they can sign, which I would put it at less than a 50% chance for Sheen Biles, it would be interesting to see who then they go after. Because if they believe Caleb Lavelle is healthy and they get Blake Nicholson back and they like this highly touted freshman, it'll be interesting if they stay pat or who they then go after.
Ernie Sims is probably out there beating the bushes now to find at least a couple of linebackers. I'm sure they've given him the budget for his linebackers.
This would be 99% of the budget if they get this guy. So they would have to be very selective of who they go after. If they
see him as the number one linebacker on this team if he's brought in. Okay,
he's like the number one linebacker in the portal. So.
Well, then you know what? Ernie Sims and Tony White. That's their job to bring the guy in. Then that's their job. We shall see. Let's keep his name and track him. Obviously,
it would also be a big win for Ernie Sims and his ability to recruit. If he's able to not only negotiate this and bring him in, it would be a huge win for him as a recruiter as well. He can add that to his resume. So we'll see. I don't think this is, like I said, I see this as less than a 50%.
You know what? And I don't see it as unusual when a guy comes in and he has interest in your program and might commit to your program, still to go to another visit or two. I think it's just good business. I think it's really good business because you're trying to see if Florida State still has some money in a side pot that they can throw another $100,000 at it, another $50,000 at it. Or that brings you a new car to drive around. Maybe that's part of the deal. Maybe it's you get an apartment. Who the hell knows? There's so many different aspects to a contract. He may say, you know what? I want you to fly my family. Where's he from? Pittsburgh? He's from. I don't know where he came from, But he could say, I want you to fly my parents down and have an apartment to stay in to watch the games.
He's from Ohio.
Okay. He could ask for that. When you do a contract, you can ask for anything. You can ask for anything, and you should. Why wouldn't you? So.
Yeah, it's just interesting that he's.
And I don't want people to think I'm soft, because I'm not. I'm old school dude. But this is the world of big business. Ask Trump. Get the book, The Art of the Deal. Maybe Florida State should get a copy of that and read that, of how this goes down.
Yeah, so we'll see with that. And obviously, so yeah, that's the latest on most of the commitments. Most of the guys that I've heard, big guys are targeting right now. I mean, the only other thing we haven't brought up and we haven't discussed since it's happened is Earl Little. You mentioned it, but he's
in and out.
He's not declaring for the draft, which I think is probably smart.
Yeah.
But he's going to probably try to get more money than he probably would have gone in the draft. I don't think he was going to be a top 2 round or 3 round pick. But it'll be interesting to see where he lands. I mean, obviously, I think if Florida State can get him for a decent price, I think it would be great to slot him back in, because then it's less. Once again, I don't think Little's an all-star, but he has flashes of being
and he played there
ACC
all
player.
last season.
Exactly. So he would have be more comfortable in the system. Tony White would be more comfortable with him.
Because who else do you have at safety then?
Well, he plays in that rover type position, which is unique. So he's kind of like that free safety, like you said, that rover in the middle. I mean, KJ, who's gone? KJ or Ashland? Which one? Those two I keep getting mixed up. Which one left?
I think Barker was in the portal, or could be. Hey, let's ask our friends out there. Hey, loyal friends. Is Barker in the portal, or he's still on the roster? Everybody's still on the roster that I looked at just before the show. Is Barker in the portal?
I think they're both back, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think both Ashton, I believe KJ Kirkland's coming back, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So he I mean, would he be your rover? I guess. I would rather have Earl Little, unless they've pinpointed another guy that can take that position over. Like I said, Earl Little's not going to be an first team all ACC guy. Does he have the potential to? Maybe a 10%, 15% chance if he improves. I think Florida State probably gives him the ability to do that, since he's been in the system and he could grow in that system because he's used to it. And I don't think there's going to be like high top 15 teams that are going to be going after him. So it'll be interesting to see if they can retain him. But once again, you can't afford to overpay for a guy like that. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up.
Let me make a comment on Jim T. Ruby's comment here. I think the new GM and player personnel guy is weeding out some of these guys out now. I think that's interesting, because I did see something on social media today, not with Florida State, but I sent it to you, KB. It was that guy at Kansas State who said that he was told to just leave. They're taking his scholarship from him. And because I guess he was unproductive, he wanted to stay, I guess, but they actually cut him from the team. Now, there's another contractual issue, but I believe I looked that up some time ago, and universities can pull back scholarships. If they think you're unproductive and you're not willing to go into the portal, right? Then I guess maybe
scholarships are year to year. Scholarships are year to year.
So they could. There you go. So they could pull the guy's scholarship, right? And so that's apparently what they've done. So this guy, it forced him to go into the portal. So this is a new trend that I think you're going to see more of. I think Florida State people, like Norvell, have probably suggested and encouraged people to get into the portal without just saying, we're pulling your scholarship, you need to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
but
I think this is
a unique thing. We're not saying that's going on at Florida State, but it's unique.
Yeah, well, I think this is unique, and I think this is a bad way for him to frame this, because I think this has been going on for years, And it's just he framed it. This is a bad way. This is telling people I got fired, and instead
Right.
of saying I'm looking for new opportunities.
Yes.
And that's why kids do it. That's why you have exit interviews, and coaches will say, you're not going to be a starter for us. You should go explore other opportunities out there and basically enter yourself. And therefore you're framing it as I'm going to look other places instead of you firing me before I go and do it. So it's more, it makes it look like more your decision versus a school saying you're not productive, you're not good enough for our roster. We're firing you.
Exactly.
So that's, and so with him doing this, he's trying to make the school look bad, and then saying so yeah, this has been going on since the transfer.
No, I think some universities could handle it by just when they do the player exit interviews, like the NFL does. They do player exit. So what they should say is, we don't see you as part of the next season. Once you go out and take a look at things, okay, and let us know in 2 weeks what your decision is. And if the guy comes back and says, "Nah, I just want to stay here," well, too bad, we're pulling your scholarship. I mean, because
what does it matter in 2 weeks or now if we don't want you on the team?
No,
I'm
just saying.
Go.
I'm just saying there's different ways to communicate it. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
But I guess that's what I'm saying, is that they've done this. So you have the exit interview, and they say, "Hey kid, McGuire, you're not going to be on our team. Essentially, you're not going to play for us next year. So we suggest you entering the transfer portal and saying, hey, you frame it as I'm entering willingly. Come check me out. Here are my highlights." Instead of you reversing and saying, hey, I got fired because I'm not good enough. I hope somebody picks me up, and make it look like a pity.
I totally agree with what you're saying.
This looks bad on him, I think. I feel like this makes him look bad versus him saying, hey, they weren't playing me. Here are my highlights. Here's my scouting tape.
He's a linebacker too.
I just don't think. I think he's trying to make the school look bad, when I think it kind of makes him look bad.
Yeah, I agree with you. As a PR, he's
just looking kind of for pity, and it's like, this has been going on for years. Like, this is a business now, and no one's going to feel bad for you. I'm sorry, but it's just, not everyone gets to play.
Well, he could sign on. He could sign on if he needs a representative, the old man's sports agency.
Right here. I can't believe his agent would even do it.
There you go. He may need a new agent. Here I am.
I don't think he's going to need you.
Okay.
But yeah, I think he's looking for sympathy, and I don't know. Maybe that's the play here. Maybe he's looking for sympathy, and that's it. But this has been going on for years. Like, they've had these conversations.
Okay, I think the key is, for many, many years, I thought once the guy signed, he had an automatic 4-year scholarship. He was good for the 4 years. That's not true. Academically, a guy could flunk out. That used to be a thing. This guy is no longer eligible to play for the year because he flunked out in the semester. Whatever. Those types of things occurred. The academic thing is not so big now, but it is, I believe, after I did research it, it's a 1-year deal. It's a 1-year scholarship, and that's right. It has to be renewed. That's correct. Yeah.
Yearly. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it is what it is, and like I said, I think it's yeah. So yeah, I think those are the biggest things right now. It'll be interesting to see as the week progresses what pops up on the Florida State radar. I guess the only last thing I wanted to bring up is people are rotating this image around. I wanted to see. We missed it when we talked about the press conference, but any comments on this body language from Mike Norvell with Alford from the press conference? Do you think this indicates anything that about the relationship between the AD and Mike Norvell, and what could be happening between the two of them?
Did you put it up?
I did put it up.
I'll see it.
Do you see it?
No.
I don't know what the hell is. Oh, here, let's go on here.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Now, listen. I without getting into the specifics, I dabbled in the world of behavior analysis, how nonverbal behavior can communicate. And Mike Norvell, in that position, communicate, one, I don't really want to be here. Two, I was forced onto this stage with these other guys, my two kind of bosses. And three, I'm not happy at all. And I'm very defensive in my posture, and I'm not open to what's being said. That's what that behavior, any behavior analyst brought on to look at those pictures. And if I was still, well, let me say, teaching what I used to teach, I would have this photo, and that's what we would show. That's what you would show. That's defensive behavior with the crossed arms and him looking up at the ceiling, showing, I don't really accept what the hell's going on here. And I stay with my prediction. Mike Norvell will be fired by mid-season in 2026.
There you go. There you go. There's a bold prediction for next season. I do think that we may go that direction, but I don't want to look at it that way. But yeah, we'll see how things progress.
Here's the comments. Rodnick says he knows this is the last shot. That's true. And then who is this? Tomcat says he's shot. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and especially now you have to remember what GM John Garrett said. No, there's only one guy up here with HC next to it saying he's responsible for the players, basically. And he pointed at Norvell. So let me go back to my lists here. You know, we got to get some names on the list here, Mike. You know, here's the defensive secondary I have so far. You know, a couple names here with a new guy coming in, Nehemiah. But we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work. Now there's a lot of players out there. What's the latest count? It was like 5,000 to 8,000 players. Somebody said it was going to hit 10K. I don't see it as hitting 10K. I
saw 4,000 plus. I may be up to 5,000 now, but it's a
and
lot.
There's not enough room for all those players. There's not enough room for all those players.
No,
No.
There's going to be a lot of kids that are done playing. I keep saying it. They're going to be done playing college football.
And I guess the new USFL or USL or what UFL's coming out. It starts in March.
Yeah.
I guess players could leave the college portal and go to there and try out, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Technically, I guess. But right now Florida State has the last ranked ACC transfer portal.
Is that right?
Yeah. So
oh my Lord.
So 34 transfers out, 8 in right now, but according to On3, we have the worst in the ACC transfer team.
Look at Tomcat. That's code. Norvell's behavior. That's code for if we suck. It's his fault.
Well, I mean,
I think John Garrett doesn't want to be held responsible for his first year on the job with what could happen. Now, we all want to take credit when good things happen, but when the bad things happen, I think the fingers are going to come out, you know?
Yeah. I think Alford's going to need to be held responsible for some decisions that weren't made. One of them may be not hiring James Franklin. One of them may be not firing Mike Norvell just outright.
Is that Virginia Tech at the top?
Yep, so far they're at the top.
There you go.
You know,
well, he got a lot of Penn State guys come over.
That's and we'll see what the results carry. So I mean, a lot of that is momentum from coming over to Penn State. But
did you see all the guys that came from? I think it was Iowa State to Penn State to follow their coach, like 20 guys or something.
And that's why it's so important in this era to hire the right coach to see who follows. And I've said it. I messaged some guy. I said they were like, "Who's gonna be the next Florida State coach?" And I said, if Ryan Hartline wins 9 games at USF, I think that may be the number 1 pick. So if he wins
you think he's gonna win 9 games?
USF fans think it's a given that he'll win 9 games there based on their schedule. So I don't know what their schedule looks like, but I think if he goes to South Florida, wins 9 games, kind of rebuilding that team in his first year as a coach, with like with what the reputation he's
Yeah,
built
he's
up.
got some players. Yeah.
But if he can win in his first year there, I think he's going to get a lot of eyes on him. And if he can,
Oh, that a USF is a stepping stone program like
Exactly.
UCF, like UCF. They're a stepping stone program. I hope Florida State does not become a stepping stone program for both coaches and players, and we cannot dismiss that. If you linger long enough in the swamp here, no reference to the Gators, and you're in the suck hole and the mud holes, you can all of a sudden become a stepping stone program. Okay?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I went, like I said, 1973, 0-11. I was there. I saw every moment. And until Bobby Bowden arrived, we were in the suck hole. And so we gotta get this thing right. And I think maybe John Garrett's the guy, but he doesn't want to be told. He didn't build this roster really that's being put together. He is approving now any of the transfers that come in, and he'll be hold him responsible for the transfers coming in and their production. Okay, and the coaches and the coaching decisions that go on the field, but he's not responsible for the majority of people on this roster. There's 105 players on the roster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Now, let me just talk for a minute quickly about special teams play. We've got some room there as well.
Yep.
Jake Weinberger continues to be your primary place kicker for field goals, extra points. It looks like Ethan Post is going to take over at the punting position. He was a heralded punter coming out, I think, Minnesota or someplace up there. But he's a big guy. So he looks like he's going to get his shot. And then the long snapper, we talked about, that's Caleb Bowsers, who's coming over from North Dakota State, heralded long snapper, 1 year remaining. We do not have what I see as a proven returner yet, right?
Yeah. We don't have a proven return yet, which they brought in the guy from G and Tech. He didn't commit. And they brought in the other guy from what was it? We talked about him last week.
Is it the Ivy League school guy we were talking about?
No. It was, what was his name? I'll look it up. Yeah. Oh no, Xavier Townsend from Iowa State. It seems like he left and didn't commit either. But it was those two guys who had special teams experience that I think they were looking at for for that specialty, but I don't think either of them, they both left, and I haven't heard back. I haven't heard what the status was with those two guys. So maybe they'll commit later. They'll probably take additional visits. But
yeah,
I think they are.
We got to get that straightened out. That guy's a key dude. Yeah. You know, you got to catch, even if you just catch the damn ball and don't run anywhere, that's and have the decision-making abilities to do that. That's better than anything. But we can't have balls bouncing around, bouncing off guys' heads. I mean, because this team is not going to blow a lot of people out. You're going to be in close games. So it's going to be very important that no mistakes are made on those special teams. And you may win a game that way, too. For sure. Very, very interesting. The last thing I have, and then I'll turn it over to you, is a new running backs assistant coach was hired. His name is Sean Shivers. And he played at Auburn. He played as a running back at Auburn, and he was just a Eastern Michigan grad assistant, so he's going to be helping at running backs.
There you go. Yeah. So and so far, the new running backs coach Cam Martin's got a big win with signing Wisner from Texas. So we'll see how that does.
I got him penciled in. Yeah,
new
got him penciled.
Seem to be doing some good things, and we'll see if that continues. But so far, Florida State's got a lot of work to continue.
The offensive side with the skill guys, I know there's work to do on the skill guys, but it seems to be coming together a little bit. Okay, a little bit more than maybe on the defensive side. So there is a lot of work to be done. The comment you see on the screen there, I mentioned, it was me, said Daniels is likely a $750K to $1 million guy Braden 3 there says, I believe he's valued at 450 according to On 3. I haven't seen that report.
Who's valued at that?
Ashton Daniels, the quarterback.
I think that sounds right. I mean, that's 450 would. That's how.
Boy, that's a bargain basement price then. If it's under 5K, I mean, because the biggest O-line prospects in the portal supposedly are getting a 750 to a mil. So it's too bad. I haven't heard anything about that Louisiana guy, huh? That visited.
No.
He was taking some other visits. He hasn't committed though.
Not that I've seen yet. No. Where's Ashton?
Champ says he got 331K. I don't know where Champs. I don't know where you're getting these numbers. Maybe some of the sites have their crystal ball estimates of the value.
They had the value of 331, which
I
do believe.
Who did?
It's right here on the screen.
Oh, On 3. Okay. Yeah.
And I do think that's about right. I mean, like I said, I think 300 to 500 is probably where he is, and I think you did get a good deal. Like that is probably what he's.
We got a good deal for a starting quarterback if he pans out. Yeah, if he does halfway decent.
He played 4 games last year. Like we're not talking. We're not paying a guy that's like thrown 5,500 touchdowns. It's like
but he's played a lot of football. He's played some football.
Not a lot of good football. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here. This isn't a Heisman winner. We gotta set expectations. You're thinking we were gonna pay him $1 million. Like that's insane. That's insane. Like not every guy's gonna make $1 million at quarterback. Like. That's why I think, you did.
He jumped at the Florida State thing pretty quick. I think he sees Ashton. I think Ashton Daniels sees this as a restart and a potential resurrection in his final year. So I think he's going to be eager to do very well.
Absolutely,
and that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and we wish him the best.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think that is the big stuff for now. Obviously, things will be dynamic. Things will change. So yeah, we'll have a new show probably this weekend, Friday or Saturday, maybe Sunday, as things evolve. Because I'm sure there'll be 5, 6, hopefully some bigger updates going into this weekend. I'm hoping maybe at linebacker, maybe at defensive line. We'll see how it goes. And then the other thing you brought up right before we got on was that Florida State did extend an offer to another quarterback, but it's more as a red shirt or as a back
JUCO.
At JUCO. And I wanted to bring that up right before we got off because I do think that's important because you only have one scholarship quarterback or 2 now, but you only had 1 with Kevin Sperry on board, but now you have 2. His name is Trey Guerrera. He is a JUCO guy, like you mentioned. Here he is. I'll bring him up on the screen here. So he was playing at where he playing at. So, but yeah, he was playing at the JUCO level at Tyler Junior College in Texas. And then previously he was at Central Arkansas, which is obviously Mike Norvell's alumni. So yeah, this guy is emergency use case behind Kevin Sperry and Jaden O'Neal. Had some decent offers out of high school, Kentucky, Marshall, Southern Miss. So, yeah, I mean, once again, emergencies, big guy, 6'2", 195. You bring him in. He may have a couple, class of 2026. Probably has 1 year remaining. I don't know what about his redshirt status, but yeah, you bring in the kid just to have there. Hopefully you never have to use him. I guess is the use case here.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know. But yeah, you are pretty light at quarterbacks in terms of what you have on the roster because you lost Brock Glenn, and you lost some guys. You lost obviously Tommy. And this is the guy too, I believe, that has some athleticism to him that if you need to run and if he had to come in and needed to run, he could do that. So yeah. This is emergency. So yeah. But yeah, that's the only last thing I wanted to bring up. Thank you all for coming out. We appreciate the support. We appreciate the comments. Appreciate y'all supporting the show. And as always, be sure to hit the bell. Be sure to like the episode. We appreciate it. And yeah, look out for Saturday, Sunday, maybe something around there for our next episode. Unless unless something major. If that Pittsburgh linebacker commits, I may do something like an emergency episode or something like that. Anything big like that. But yeah, stay tuned, and we will see you all very soon. Have a great closing to your week. Have a great Thursday, Friday, and stay safe out there. And as always, go Noles. We'll see you all very soon. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Seminoles Sideline 365. Feel the roar, we're coming alive. Garnet and gold in the battle we thrive. This is our house where legends arrive. Every yard we take, it's blood.